Hello Mooncrafters, welcome back to Craft of Moon. My name's Ryan Hunt. I'm an astrologer, a coach, a psychedelic guide, and I have been covering the rise of the hegemonic power that has come front and center starting here in 2025. Looks like Minneapolis just had another shooting. We're going to be covering a little bit about that. But I wanted to talk about the nodes of the moon, the nodes of Pluto, the nodes of the planets, how those play into things, because I've been talking a little bit about that. So stay tuned and we'll dig right in. All right, so the first thing that happened today is in the news, we have another shooting in Minneapolis. Minneapolis, Minnesota. So what I wanted to do is just kind of take a look at that for a minute. And I'm going to play... The way this is going to go, I'm going to play a few news clips. We're going to talk a little bit about some of the commentary of those news clips based on some of the things that I've recently been talking about in some of my recent videos. You can see those in the playlist. The latest one was the Hegemon Rising. So we're going to talk a little bit about some of the news clips and how that plays into what we've been talking about. And then I'm going to move into pulling up some slides, just talking a little bit about the nodes and understanding what those are astronomically, how those, and archetypally, and then how those play into the interpretations of what we're seeing play out around the world. So let's go ahead and flip over here to our news clip. This should be a news clip of the, the ICE and immigration officials in Minnesota. Let's take a look. Oh, wait a second. This isn't ICE. This is not ICE. Sorry about that. This is the wrong scene, or maybe it isn't. Hard to tell these days, isn't it? Yeah, that could easily be ICE in Minneapolis, but let's flip over here. This is what we want to see instead. All right, let's just take a look at this. This was this morning. This is January 24th. It's 11:35 a.m. Pacific time in Berkeley, California. So this was earlier this morning in Minneapolis. This is not Star Wars. This is real. This is real life. The press have taken up positions up on a snowbank here off to the right. They have been completely tear gassed out. You see this massive cloud. This is what I'm talking about. They throw so many canisters that it creates this massive cloud that is wafting throughout this entire neighborhood. I mean, it keeps going on. I mean, here's more. Southern end. Just because they're not wearing white doesn't mean they don't have the same kind of symbolism. Here. You know, Star Wars was great about really exacerbating the symbolism. So just because these ICE agents aren't wearing these white, blaster-proof uniforms. We're seeing a plume of smoke coming from the north. Can't be sure as to exactly what it is. Back up. More. The man is trying to scream out his name. What agency they're with here? Looks like more. We see it all over the place. More. More. See? Lightning press is that these agents were somehow just trying to. Yeah. So that is what the news came up with this morning, and these are like real life events. We saw this happen a few years ago with George Floyd protests. We've seen this happen. The marches on Washington we've seen happen. Like, there is this just incredible opposition that is taking place between the people, the subjects that are being ruled, and the ruling elite class that is doing the ruling. And there is this force. When we look at Star Wars, when we first saw the movies, the stormtroopers were portrayed as evil, and it really worked out well for developing this kind of tension in the movie, this theatrical experience. And later, as some of the different follow-on works, the different movies and the different, TV series that have been put out around this have come out, there's been times where the stormtroopers have been more humanized, right? And so we see the human component of the stormtroopers and how in many ways they're forced into the situation, or they don't have a choice, these kinds of things. So there's a much more human component to the stormtroopers, and we finally see that they're actually humans behind there. Let's go ahead and, before I jump to the next thing, this experience of the hegemonic power, the stormtroopers, this clash between the populations, and we've seen this throughout history in the US and around the world. We've seen populist uprisings. We saw it in France. We saw it in Germany. We saw it in Russia, China. We've seen it in the US. So this is not something that is new, as in like, you know, in the current zeitgeist is not original. This is a kind of like a replay in a way, or you know, the remake of the previous movies. But what I was talking about in some of the previous videos, and you can go back and take a look at those, where I talk about the astrology of the capture of Maduro and how that's significant in our current time. I also talk about the takeover of Hawaii and how the archetypal lineups of the astrology of that tie into the current moment. So there's a lot astrologically that's going on. And what is happening right now astrologically that is influencing the zeitgeist is this hegemonic rise. And we've been watching that for several hundred years. We're going to watch it for several hundred more. We're about 2/3 of the way through the cycle of it right now. And that 2/3 point is kind of a tipping point for where we are in its continued development and evolution. So you can take a look at some of those videos. Also, in this process, I've been specifically talking about the nodes of Pluto, the nodes of the planet Pluto. And I do have a class on Pluto that's coming up this coming Wednesday. It's the 4th installment of the 5 cosmic catalysts for your best year yet. It's through synchronicityuniversity.com. You can still purchase access to that session or buy the recording afterwards. It dives deep into the archetype of Pluto and how we can track that and integrate the themes of Plutonic experience into this current year. So take a look at that. It's definitely a different vein from what I'm going to be talking about right now. It's more about how to harness the archetype of Pluto for your best year, how to take that and turn that into a personal catalyst and personal transformative power. But I do want to focus on the world a little bit. It's just so striking. And so let's drop into another news clip here. Let me get it ready. This is the scene of Donald Trump, the president of the US, arriving in Davos. Okay, let me get it queued up here. Oh, wait a second, you guys aren't seeing that. Let me flip back here and go back to that. And this isn't the president arriving in Davos. What was I thinking?
The Death Star will.
All right. So yeah, that wasn't the current president of the United States arriving in Davos, Switzerland for the World Economic Forum, even though it kind of looked like it. Here is the president doing that. Hold on a second. Here we go. Okay. Yeah. It's hard to tell. They look so similar, and there are certain similar elements to this. It's hard to kind of like tell them apart sometimes. So anyways, they did forget the thematic music during that moment. I'm not sure who was in charge of sound for that helicopter landing and the red carpet walk, but they didn't have the thematic music going, which was unfortunate. We're watching in real time these kinds of things unfold, and we're seeing a lot of stuff happening with the United States right now. And being a U.S. citizen, I feel like I can kind of poke fun at it a little bit. But one of the things that I want to point out around the astrological archetypal arising of the theme of the hegemon and hegemonic power in the world is that it is not specifically tied to any one country or any one person. This is a worldwide global phenomenon that we are experiencing. And I do want to, kind of setting aside some of the joking, I do want to show you a few words from Carney's, the president of Canada's speech, or the prime minister of Canada's speech at Davos. So hold on a second, let's flip that up here.
Stability. And because of that, we could pursue values-based foreign policies under its protection. We knew the story of the international rules-based order was partially false, that the strongest would exempt themselves when convenient, that trade rules were enforced asymmetrically. And we knew that international law applied with varying rigor depending on the identity of the accused or the victim. This fiction was useful. And American hegemony in particular helped provide.
Okay, so Notice he uses the word hegemony, and sorry that my screen was a little bit wonky when he first started. He uses the word American hegemony. This word is entering the zeitgeist.